kind of brings us into somebody who had a lot of potential, tragically passed away last November. Lil Peep, his first posthumous drop. I don't know if it's his only one. Come Over When You're Sober Part 2. Mm-hmm. Like I said, died last year with an overdose on his tour bus. It's hard to talk about this without mentioning X, since the single X's single dropped this weekend, and also the single off this album that's blowing up, Falling Down, involves X on it. But why don't we talk quick about posthumous albums? What's your take on them? How do you feel about them?
Yeah, I'm pretty out on them generally. Just go listen to what Diddy did to Biggie after Biggie died. Duets, The Final Chapter, Born to Go, all that crap. Like, it's just taking snippets. Well, Diddy really was egregious because he put a fuck ton of features on all those posthumous releases, right? And sometimes those artists Biggie didn't even fuck with, right? But in general, just cobbling together snippets and like half-baked song ideas into quote songs and a full product just to make money off the estate, I just find it's pretty shallow and fucked up thing to do. And that's kind of my now for X in particular, who we're gonna get. I mean, they're releasing this new album, Skins, next month, right? And then Peep as well. A lot of these songs, a lot of these ideas, they're literally like, it's just a hook. You made a song by recycling this one hook that the guy did. Like, there was no verse. You just redid the hook the whole time. It's just like, I just get really annoyed with like the greed of it, you know? And I think in particular this single that Peep and X have, guys who never met, by the way, never really communicated at all.
Yeah. And Peep I think was public that he didn't even really like X based on the things he did with women.
And that's the controversy. I don't think that's like quote confirmed, but people that Peep were close with are saying that. And whether that's true or not, the original version had McConan on there, which is the following song on this album, right? But no, of course they had to put him with X because X equals streams. So
yeah.
And this is the first release of Peeps on Columbia Records. He never did that when he was alive. But, the estate, which includes his mom, includes his close friends, they decided to put together this. Now, I think in the case of Peep, it doesn't sound as egregious because apparently a lot of this music was recorded around the time he made part 1 last year. And they just worked to finish this. But, I always get rubbed the wrong way. And I think the first song on here, I was like, man, this sounds way too cleaned up. He was always really into like those like lo-fi vocals, right? Like that, like distorted as fuck, right? And that first song didn't sound like that at all. I was like, it just sounds like a label cutting it up for for money. So I was kind of get rubbed the wrong way. But I mean, on the other hand, I did think this sounded better. This is probably the most enjoyable Peep listen I've ever had. I wasn't a huge fan of him in life. Like, yeah, Awful Things was a big hit. I see the appeal of that, obviously. The Bright Side, same way. I get it. I wasn't that big on him. But this one sounded better, and I think that's partially because the label was going to, make it sound more appealing for the benefit of streams. But what did you think?
Not super familiar with Lil Peep, like you mentioned. I think it was awful. I'd heard that track and didn't really grab me, but this was a pretty enjoyable listen. And I think it's kind of for some of the reasons you talked about. He sounded a lot different on this album. He sounded a lot clearer, a lot crisper, which, I mean, for better or for worse, I think that's what really draws people to this album. And it's like, there's not that many features. It's him, and it's him in a way that people didn't usually hear him, and whether he would have been okay with that or not, obviously we'll never know. But it seems like everything, all the production, the way that this came together was done trying to put something out that would honor him and not just something that would profit off of him, which makes me feel a little bit more comfortable with it. Posthumous albums, like recently, Prince's estate released a lot of music that he didn't really want released, and it's incredibly disrespectful to the person, but this seems to be done in a very tasteful way. I do think Falling Down is a freaking catchy ass song, and like for all the problems with it, I think it's a very fun song to listen to, and I like how Peep infuses hip hop, rap, and rock, together in pretty seamlessly. And I think that there's not really a terrible song on the album, although I did find it kind of creepy how many of the lyrics were related to like like death or leaving, almost kind of uh, I don't know, predicting things to come in a way. Any songs on this other than "Falling Down" that you think are worth mentioning or
Yeah.
noting?
Uh, was it 16 lines? I
Mm-hmm.
thought that was a catchy hook. Was it Runaway? I think it was called. I mean, there's some I think that sounded good. And I think you hear that and you hear the potential. And I think that was the main takeaway when he passed. It was not that Lil Peep had released a really singular work per se, but he was an influential figure that clearly was going to be a star, as this infusion of SoundCloud rap and emo and all of this, right? But he was clearly on a path to start. I mean, he was very popular, despite, in my opinion, not having any music that was that great, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you see that again here. And like you said, the morbid stuff is now pretty off-putting to listen to at times. But that was always what he rapped about, whatever, that was nothing new. So, again, it's a sad story, like just like it was a sad story a year ago. But I have a feeling this will be pretty appealing to a lot of his fans if they can get over the nature of his creation. And I will say, John Carmonico at the New York Times wrote a lengthy feature on how this album got put together, by his mom and his
Mm-hmm.
close friend who's a producer. And it's an interesting story. I actually find the whole story of that over this past year pretty interesting. So read that if you're interested.